Today's video is parenting a toddler screen-free every day, even if I'm maybe not feeling well or I'm tired, including car rides and more. Hello and welcome back, or just welcome if you're new here. I'm Carmen. I'm mom to Elba. She is 2 years and 9 months old, and I'm also in my second trimester. I fully recognize when people have multiple children, they may have a greater challenge to remain screen-free than if they only have one. I trust that a lot of what I'm going to talk about in today's video is going to carry me through that challenge when that time comes for me.
Mommy?
And I'll make a video once we've lived out that as well. But for now, we are very intentional parents. I'm very intense in my research and I am very strong in my convictions and the choices that I make. So I do typically live out the decisions that we make for our family and just figure out a way to make it work. So I trust that even when we are posed with additional challenges for this, that we're going to find a way to figure it out and make it work. For right now, we have parented completely screen-free, except for video calls with family and friends. And that is because we live so far away from them. We live in a different country to all of our family and many of our long-standing friends. But I'll talk about what we've done to get the most benefits out of that exposure and that experience for our toddler, while minimizing any of the negative things that we think may come from doing that. I'm going to share details about everything, and I'm going to share insights into my daily life and like literal ways that I do things around the house and just live life. But for now, a summary and the overarching themes of how we parent screen-free come down to 4 things. The first one, probably the most important one, is that being screen-free for her is a non-negotiable for us. That means it's not something I even think about. It's not an option I consider on any given day in any set of circumstances. It doesn't cross my mind. I don't waste my energy trying to decide whether I do or don't want to do it, and if I do want to do it, what do I want to do, or how much do I want to limit it. It's a hard no, and therefore I'm automatically not even considering that as an option. The second one is we don't ever think about our kid as we need to entertain her or keep her busy. A lot of times parents use screens, parents who may not want to, because they feel the need to entertain their child or keep their child busy while they get something else done. We blanketly, through everything, do not have the approach of entertaining our child or keeping her busy in any way. The third one is that we foster independent play and independence in the way that she approaches her day through a lot of connection and nurture. We are very intentional in our approach to providing connection throughout the way that we just live life, such that it's rarely necessary for us to have to make like explicit time on a regular basis for connection, or that we have a regular thing of, for example, if I'm cooking dinner where she's needing a lot of connection and attention. If that happens, it will be like a once-off occurrence. And I do think that in large, that is as a result of all of the other opportunities throughout our day that we make time for connection. Now again, that ties into being screen-free, because a lot of times parents will find it very difficult, especially at the end of the day, to try to get the things done that you typically need to get done at the end of a day, because your child is really craving your attention and connection with you. So I'll share some tips around what we do to bring it into the rest of the day, such that typically we don't have that come the end of the day when there's quite a lot of tasks that we're getting done. And then the fourth and last one is that we treat our kid the same way that we treat each other and our friends. Of course, with being developmentally and age appropriate, but it's the way that we consider her in how we spend our day and discussing what we're going to do when we're going to do things is pretty much very similar to how my spouse and I treat each other. Right, now let's get into a little bit more detail. I want to start with the first one because I honestly think that that's the key, essentially, to being screen-free, and that is that it's a non-negotiable for us. I really appreciate that throughout my parenting, I have never found myself considering it as an option or even spending any of my energy or capacity wondering or thinking about whether this is something that I should be doing. We do have a TV in our other room over there. If it was up to me, we would have gotten rid of it. But my husband is a bit more of a numbers guy, and for him, it doesn't make sense for him to get rid of it for the off chance that we may want to like use it in future, because of the way that technology is not really very valuable secondhand, and we currently haven't figured out somewhere to safely store it in our house. So it is this big black, I want to say like ugly piece of decor in our house. And in saying that, I want to say that I was not somebody who lived very screen free before I had a kid. Those changes came about when I had Elba. Because I had Elba, I made those changes. Before I had her, that TV was very, very much used. I spent hours waiting for labor and birth to start, watching random cooking shows and series. And I was somebody who watched all the latest series, binge watched series, watched many, many movies. So I was very much somebody who watched a lot of TV before I had a kid. Now, because I don't want that for her, and there's of course a big difference between a fully developed adult brain and a developing brain. Not that I'm saying that what I did was good for me at all. I'm just saying that there is a slight difference, and I don't want that for her. So therefore, I have entirely shifted my relationship to screens to, throughout life, role model a healthier relationship to screens for her, so that it isn't something that we tell her what to do, but rather something that our entire family lives out, and it's a part of life, rather than us creating very strict rules for her that we don't apply to ourselves. One of the things that's been very helpful for me on my journey with that is during during pregnancy I read Eckhart Tolle's book, I think it's called, and in that he discusses how screens and TV is like a very numbing experience. We're very distracted from life, and we're literally like almost like stepping out of life into this realm. And it gave me a lot of thoughts around how I spend my time. Do I want to be spending my time like that? Isn't there a better way that I could be relaxing? Isn't there something better that I could be doing with my time rather than this? And just by having that awareness in and of itself, it very easily helped me to shift my relationship to screens. Because I went from thinking that it was something I needed and this like very normal part of life to always be watching some kind of series, to thinking I don't need this and my life is so wonderful when this is not taking up a huge chunk of my time. Now, moving on from that to the other point that I made, and I'm going to start bouncing around between them because they are interconnected, but back to this one, is that we do not entertain our kid. Her environment, you can't see it now, but you'll see it in my other videos and my vlogs, has intentional objects and toys and a lot of things for her to do in it. But they are all, literally all of them, are passive toys, and they have always been since she was born. What that means is there is nothing in her environment that will entertain her while she sits there not doing anything, watching it in any kind of way. She has no toys that will, when she clicks a button, sing to her, light up, or in any way entertain her like that. Every single thing in her environment, she needs to actively participate for it to do anything. And this might sound, I don't know, like a little bit unnecessarily strict or unnecessary, but I do think that it's made a huge difference to her experience and our experience in parenting her to have the approach that things do not need to entertain her. Things are more than enough just as they are, and that being bored is a gift to give, because from that boredom stems creativity. Because she's never been exposed to things that entertain her, she knows how to be bored and then to find something to do with her time, even when she doesn't have like the space like this has a lot of things for her to do. But even in times where we don't have that, where we're sitting in a waiting room or on a plane and there is not that many things for her to like figure out. I've watched her. She does figure it out because she hasn't lost her innate ability to be bored and then to just do something with that. Which a lot of us who, when we turn to screens, talking about myself here, we did lose and have to almost regain later in life because we're so used to being entertained by our phone or by a screen in some kind of way that we've lost the ability to kind of like sit and figure out something creative and maybe more productive to do with our time, even if that productivity is actively resting in a way that feels good. And similarly to not feeling like we need to entertain her, I've also, and you won't hear me say this, and I find it such a common thing for parents to say to each other, is I don't do anything to like get her energy out. I just go about life, and the way that we do life is expending energy, and we do things that I think are life enriching for her or great for her like development or just a great experience. But I definitely don't plan an activity going like, okay, this one's gonna get all her energy out so she'll be nice and tired later. That's just not a way that I think about any kind of activity. I do an activity based off of whether I think that activity is going to be a nice experience for us as a family, or I do it because I think it is in some way enriching for her and her development. I honestly believe that this has made a huge difference to my experience as a parent. I literally do not spend any of my time or energy thinking about ways to entertain my kid, keep her busy, or get her energy out. I spend my energy on other things that I think are more wonderful to spend my energy on. And when I'm spending my energy on thinking about my kid, what I'm doing is I'm doing research on developmentally appropriate toys or things to have in her environment, and other ways that we can live a healthier, more wholesome life. And there will come some more examples of everything that I'm discussing, but I want to now talk about how we foster independence through a lot of connection and nurture. I think that a lot of times parents who don't want to use screens and end up using them is because they really struggle with their children not wanting to be separate from them and not wanting to do any activity without them. You can let me know in the comments down below if you'd like me to make an entire video around this concept and more examples of how we have cared and been intentional about sort of her having independence in her play and feeling creative and exploration, and doing that through different things like what we have in our environment, but also through the connection and nurture that we give in other areas. But in short, I believe, based off of a lot of reading and also my experience as a parent now, that our children are more likely to be comfortable to play by themselves, do things by themselves, and explore by themselves if their cup is filled with the nurture and the connection that they require from us. So I don't think that we foster independence by forcing separation from our child. I think they become more independent through feeling very safe and very secure in their connection with us and our availability to them. Now, the way that we live life, she gets a lot of one-on-one connection with both me and my husband just through our day-to-day stuff. And that way we found that when we are requiring or really wanting her to play independently so that we're doing something else, we don't typically find difficulty there. Of course, this is a little bit different for a toddler versus a baby. Babies need like almost like constant connection with their parents, so that's a little bit different. But in terms of our toddler, just building connection throughout the day has really made that we notice that when we request of her to play by herself, I think almost never see a resistance with that. Now, ways that we do this, and this might fall into like the crunchy parenting category, but for me it's more of the connected nurturing parent category than anything else, is that we have intentionally co-slept. I have a video on my channel about our co-sleeping setup and what that looks like and how we make sure that it's safe and all of those things. But I did a lot of reading about the benefits of co-sleeping. And there's also books specifically around the emotions of toddlers and how it is so helpful for them a parent maybe who is not always present during the day, like for example my husband who works during the day and is not with her as much as I'm with her, how much this simple act of sleeping with your child can really help to fill up connection time and feeling that closeness and feeling secure to you. So it's something that we literally like passively do because you're just sleeping, and through that you are filling up a lot of the connection that a child needs that you may not be able to give during the day because of your circumstances. Then also just our daily rhythm is such that we as a family do a lot of things together. So we get ready together. It's not a separate, I get ready, then she gets ready. We get ready together. We brush our teeth together in the morning. We get dressed together. We go downstairs together. We have 3 meals a day together. She doesn't sit by herself and eat. We literally eat 3 meals a day together, Elba and I, and then with my husband it will be like one of the meals dinner, or sometimes if he's working from home, also 3 meals a day together. And because we're not doing screens, those 3 meals a day together are connection time or discussion time. We just sit and we eat either in silence or talking to each other. Another one that we do that I find is a very easy way to connect with my child, especially at the end of the day. Maybe there's been some things during the day, some feels built up and so forth. We always bathe together, or at least is always given to her as an option. And this again is a very one-on-one connecting time. There is skin to skin, there is play time, there is discussion time, and there's no other like distractions. You're just doing that, and then you get ready for bed together. And even though she goes to sleep a lot earlier than I do, I will still get ready for bed with her and she will go to sleep, and then I will continue to work. But having that act at the end of the day means that she's getting a lot of connection, and she also knows earlier in the day when it's very busy, very getting like tasks done with dinner and all of that, she knows already that that is coming. So she knows that if she's not getting a lot of care and attention right now, that it is coming later in the day. And I think that that can sometimes also be helpful for a child to know that when you're pushing through a lot of activities, you want to get done, get the house like organized at the end of the day, that they know, because it's happened every single day, that there will be this downtime, this one-on-one connection time with their parent. All right, next up is treating her very similar to how I treat my spouse and my friends. And this is twofold for me. The first one is that I'm doing life with her, not entirely for her. And I will admit that this was very difficult for me, because a lot of when they are babies, your life does revolve literally around them and caring for all of their needs. And then it's very easy to continue to do that at a time where they don't need it as much anymore. And I did have a hard time like shifting that. It felt like selfish or wrong in some ways, but I also had to like kind of work through that stuff, because I was coming from my own issues around being worried that I'm not giving her enough attention if I'm, you know, going about life, which is not the case. And there's a lot of literature about this as well. So I do go about life and do a lot of things for her and with her, but we are doing life together the same way my spouse and I are doing life together, obviously just with some adjustments for her age and her development. But as one example is that she has been doing laundry with me her whole life. Initially, of course, she couldn't even sit. She wasn't particularly helpful. She would just play with things, but we cloth diapered, so she really enjoyed like playing with all the parts of the diaper. And then as she got older, sometimes it did take a little bit longer for her to be involved, and sometimes she would like unfold things that I just folded, but I recognize that that's a very short phase of life. And now she's gotten to the point where she's actually helpful with the things that I do, simply because I took the time initially where it's maybe not super helpful and takes a little bit longer. Yeah.
Put on your head. Put on your head.
On my head?
Yeah. No, like clothes.
Okay.
And put on your head.
How's that? And anyway, when I'm doing household things, which I do every single day, I do laundry every day, I cook like 1 to 3 meals every single day. When I'm doing those things, she has the option to do it with me. Or if she doesn't want to do it with me, then she has the option to do something else and go and play while I do that. But this is the second part of doing life with her, similar to how I do it with my spouse or my friends. When she calls me or when she wants me to do something that she wants to do, I don't automatically drop whatever I'm doing to tend to her. Of course, if it is a physical need, if it is a safety need, if it is anything like that, yes, I do the same way I would with a friend, with a family member. But if it is not one of those and she's simply wanting me to play with her or to just out of preference do something with her, I will speak to her the same way I speak to a spouse or a friend. Oh, I'm quickly getting this laundry done. When I'm done with this, I'll read that book with you, or I'll do that activity with you. I learned this from a conscious parenting course that I did, where she would tell her son when she didn't want to read the same book for like the 4th time, and say like, oh, I don't feel like doing that activity right now. Can we do something else together? Can we read a different book? And that was really helpful for me, because that's the same way that I approach friends and families. I don't do everything that they ask of me and that they want to do at the expense of myself. It's a relationship where we figure out ways to do things that works for everybody. And that's the same way that I approach her. If it's urgent, if it's important, I tend to it immediately. If it's not, I will discuss with her ways that we can both get our needs met, but I'm not going to just drop something because she wants me to read. Now, this is different from her requiring connection and attention, and we learn this through knowing our child. When does my child need actual connection from me? When is there an emotional need from their side, not just a physical need? For me to be able to determine, okay, you know what, maybe I need to stop this task right now and give her that attention. She really needs that. But then that's what it is. I stop, I give that attention, and then I continue with the activity, and I make that decision the same way, again, you would with anybody else. Like if your spouse is really needing your attention and your connection, you stop what you're doing and you give that to them. But you make a call on whether it is necessary for you to stop what you're doing to tend to that and to give that attention elsewhere. Now, similar to that, and also around not being my child's entertainment or keeping her busy and not being my child's entertainment, I do activities with her, I do life with her, I spend a lot of time with her. So I'll do activities with her, but I will not spend hours of my day playing with her. I also don't carry any guilt around this, nor do I feel like I should be playing more with my child. I make sure that she has play dates. We have scheduled activities and things where she has many opportunities during a week to play with other people and children of various different ages. And she also has a play sitter who's a teenager who comes for like 2 hours twice a week, where the intention is for that person to play with her. This is not a role that I fulfill in her life, nor do I think it is a role that I'm supposed to fulfill in her life. I do things with her, but I am essentially not her friend, and I don't spend hours of my day playing with her. But I do a lot of things with her, and I do a lot of activities with her, and I provide a lot of opportunity for her during a week and during a day to have that time to play with other children. Now let's talk about when I'm not feeling my greatest or when I'm very tired. So first of all, we are a very health conscious family with the intention of minimizing the times where we don't feel good so that we can be functioning at our best self. I think I have a video on my channel with another mom, a nutrition specialist, around healthy habits for moms, of how to show up as your best self. And I think that is part of it, to be intentional about how to manage your own energy, your own health, and all of that. So it's not very often that I don't feel well or that I am too tired to tend to her or to do things. However, of course, it definitely does happen. And on my channel is also my first trimester vlog, where I had a lot of fatigue for like 2 months, and how I dealt with that and didn't turn to screens, even though I was like really exhausted for most of the day. And yeah, sometimes that meant asking my husband to work from home and to just like step in if and whenever he could. But it also just meant like sitting down and just sitting next to her and reading and napping with her every day and just having a whole bunch of other things come to a standstill because I didn't have the energy to do them during that time. This applies if I am not feeling well and if I'm also super tired. Now, there have been times where I might have wanted a break or find it difficult to do some tasks.
Now.
Okay, around her, especially when she was a bit younger. I don't really have much of that right now, but being screen free right now, I also have chosen not to do like my laptop work and kind of admin that I do on my laptop around her. This might change, but for now it's been that way, and it's been that way since she was little. So very rarely will she see me doing any kind of admin on a screen unless it's important to do so, or it's like directly applicable to some activity we're gonna do, and I will talk about that as well. But for those times, that's why we got a play sitter. So sometimes you can get a play sitter, you can get a mother's helper, whatever the case may be. But for me, what that looks like is somebody who comes twice a week for 2 hours. I'm in the house. They don't tend to any of her emotional or physical needs. It's just playtime and just like reading, and it's a time for another set of hands and another set of eyes, such that I can do activities that I find a little bit difficult to do around her. I don't want to be doing around her. I do in that time, and then I know it's reserved for that time, so I don't worry about doing them the rest of the time. Now, all of the themes and concepts that I discussed are also applicable to car rides and plane rides. We have never even considered using a screen for a car ride or a plane ride because it's a non-negotiable. We do not approach it like we have to entertain our child, so therefore we will have activities for her the same way we will have an activity for ourselves for a long car ride or a plane ride, but it won't be with this big mindset of needing to entertain her. Now, the longest car ride that we've done in a single day was 7.5 hours. And then we did by accident. It was not my intention, but we had some travel plans change. We did end up doing like quite an intense travel session of 2 plane rides with a 11-hour overnight layover. And even through all of that, we didn't once consider the use of a screen to keep her busy or to keep her entertained. Again, because it's a non-negotiable. So then you wonder like, well, what do you do in that time if she's restless? And here I think it really comes down to like our holistic approach to parenting and life, is where we have almost ruined, I think in my opinion, it's a strong way of phrasing it, a lot of the experience of life by always trying to make it more entertaining and more stimulating and just like more and more and more of things. Our appreciation of just like everyday wonders has, like, our senses have almost been dulled to that, so we just need more and more and more to keep entertaining us. So as an example, I've been intentional about this with Elba to maintain her simple love of just like everyday life and awe of just everyday things, and everyday stuff is enough for her, such that there's not this seeking out additional like ways to be entertained. And it may, like, as a small, very small example, the non-slip bath mat that we use, I explicitly sourced one that is just see-through. No pictures on it, no nothing. It's just see-through. I took a really long time before there was any kind of bath toy that she used now, and it's even now, it's like very limited, because bathing in and of itself was a very sensory experience. It's like water and you can play with it and it's different. So we don't need to hype it up even more. The same thing with car rides. Not filling like everything with like things that entertain her and rattle and do things. And the toys in our environment are, we don't stick to just like neutral colors and only wooden toys and things like that. But for the most part, I do opt for the more natural looking things, because that helps us to maintain just that natural life is enough, and that we can appreciate all of that. And I sometimes used to think of like my grandfather with this, like I would show up to his house and he would just be sitting on his porch, like staring out at the garden and the butterflies and the different things. And I think a lot of us have lost that in a modern world of being like so busy and having so many things that entertain us, that the simple act of like watching a squirrel climb up a tree is not something that we want to be spending our time on. But I wanted to preserve that for her, and it appears that those efforts have done so, because even in the car she has, for example, her music that she likes to listen to the same way I like to listen to my audiobooks, and she has a few cloth books, but there isn't much more than that. A lot of the time when we do car rides, she just likes to sit and stare out the window, talk to us, sing, and like every now and again read her cloth book. When we do a long trip, we stop, stretch our legs the same way we would for ourselves, and we have found that they are fine. We obviously time them to try to leave early in the day, like when she's more likely to be a bit more tired and things like that. But typically it's never been like this arsenal of ways to entertain her to be able to survive the car ride. And again, I don't know to what extent this has an impact on it or not, but it's different for a toddler who you can talk to and who has an understanding of like where you're going and what you're doing versus a baby. When she was a baby, I seriously limited the amount of time that she spent in a car, because babies don't like to be away from their parents. They don't like to be off of their parents. So when she was young, I did not do any long car rides, and I really in general limited how much time she spends in a car. I also didn't do things like, we rarely used a stroller. She was always in the baby carrier to be close to us, and I think that really makes a difference for a child who is kept close. A lot of times as a baby, instead of constantly being told to be separate from their parents, sit in a stroller to be separate, sit in the car seat to be separate, sleep separate, bathe separate, eat separate, do everything separate, then when you ask them to be separate from you, it's understandable that they don't want to. So we don't expect of her in other situations where it's not necessary to be separate from us. Therefore, when the times where she does need to be separate from us, it's not just like another add-on to all the other things for her. Now, you may be thinking that it's not very practical not to drive a lot when you have a baby. And the thing is, I'm going to make it, even if it's not practical, I'm going to make that work for a future baby as well. Yes, they will probably spend a little bit more time in a car than what Elba did, because it was just Elba at the time, but I will still be very mindful of how much I expect of them to be separate and sit there by themselves in a car seat at a time where it's quite important for them to be very close to their mother. I do think that all of this stuff helped, that Elba has a very good association with the car. She does not have a negative association with the car, of being forced in it. Every time that she was struggling in the car, I stopped and I tended to her. It didn't matter how impractical it was, I did that. And it was important to me that she not have this negative association with going in the car, and that again, I treat her the same way I would my spouse. If it's something you don't like, it's not something that I want to force on you on a regular basis. Great, so let me move on from that quickly to just talk about phone use and video calls with family and friends. Very early, we stopped using the phone for video calls. We do all of our video calls on a tablet. We got a tablet to be the device that is here in our living space for recipes that I use for my Notion. I have like an online Notion with recipes on there and other notes and things that I need. So she does see me read a recipe off of the tablet during the day, and she understands that that's what I'm doing, and she also understands that's what we use for video calls. The reason we did that was a few things, because I am on my phone more than I would like to be honest. I do try to be intentional about that. I tell her what I'm doing, like, oh, I'm just gonna message so and so, I'm checking the weather, I'm doing this, etc. But I do, when I can, move away from the phone and try to like have a real life way of doing it. That was a little bit of a tangent, but the video calls, I didn't want her to be associating a phone, something that she can carry around and wants to carry around, wanted to when she was younger, with that. I didn't want it to become this like entertainment thing. I wanted it to be a connecting thing with family and friends. We use a tablet, we detach it from the keyboard, and then she knows that it stays there. She doesn't carry it around. And the hippo.
I see the hippo.
You show the hippo. That way the people on the screen are also larger, so she's able to see their facial expressions better. She's able to have a much more realistic communication and connection with them, given that that is predominantly how she speaks to my parents, her aunts and uncles, connects with her cousins, etc. So that's worked really well for us to have it be slightly larger, but not a laptop, because laptop has a keyboard and a keyboard is very, very appealing for little children to like bang on, and it would just become a bit distracting. So that's what's worked like the best for us for video calls. We also limit how many video calls we do in a week, how long we do them in a day, to make sure that we are getting the benefit from them, but also to check ourselves that they're not becoming this sort of like entertainment thing, that we sort of like just put her down to be entertained by a family member. And I did notice that that happened, so therefore I made changes to that. And the other thing is that and this works out very easily for us because of the time zone difference between us and South Africa, we limit those video calls to being in the morning. We don't do them at night. At night is family time, doing household stuff, eating dinner together, winding down. That is where it would probably become more of like a distraction thing as opposed to like an actual connection, social thing at the end of the day. So we do limit them to during the day and in the morning. But again, very easy because of the time zone difference. Oh, we gotta go.
Let's go.
Yeah, can you go grab shoes so long?
Sure.
All right, thank you. All right, I had to wrap this end of this video up rather quickly because we do have something that we need to go to right now. And so to conclude this video, what I want to say is that sometimes we can think that we need to turn to things
How would my shoe
and
come out?
oh no. But I think that if we decide in our mind that we're going to make something work and that it's important to us, because this video, I'm assuming if you clicked on this video, it's because you want to parent screen free. This video was not around why should you, or the benefits of it, or the like disadvantages of using a screen or anything like that. So I'm guessing that's what you want. For me, if there's something that I think is important to my family, of course, do a lot of research before I just decide on these things. But then I make it happen and I decide, and it's not about whether we're going to make it happen, it's how are we going to make this happen. And if you watch my other videos, you will see that I've done this with many other things that could have very easily seemed like impossible, because we romanticize this idea of people used to have a village, and I moved to a new country parenting with literally zero village. I have no family around us. I have established a village in terms of friends and community, but for a lot of my parenting I did not have like much, if any, of some of the support that maybe we would want, and I still did not compromise on the things that were important to me. And it wasn't about whether we do them, it was about how I do them. And I say this to be inspiration, to say that when things are important to us, we can figure out a way to make them work. And we can compromise on the things that are of lesser importance to us and the things that we don't value as much for our family, rather than compromising on the things that we believe is very important for our family. Anyway, that is it for me. A lot of it does come down to just trying to figure out how do we live our most wholesome, best life that we can, and find that it's completely okay to get bored and not fall into this trap of thinking that screens, TV shows is anything that we need in our life. And with that, I do need to go now. I hope that this video was some practical insights for you, or some things that you find useful. If there's anything you'd like to share with other parents who want to be parenting screen-free, please do so in the comments down below. If you found value in this video, please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for being here today.